to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, for the third time, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, the Dark Mod returns, now with 100% more candle smoke. Don't Starve Together enters Linux Beta. You too can pay for multiplayer DLC, and Dead Island finally gets a patch that makes it playable? Question mark. Well, at this rate, Dying Light should be sorted by early 2017.
Brad's checking out the big brains on you because Farrell's looking for cheap slave labor. Valve puts the kibosh on Greenlight training votes for keys because developers don't realize Greenlight does not work that way. And Pillars of Eternity gets a Linux beta a month before releasing. Wow, it's just Baldur's Gate over again.
The Sims goes experimental. You can now opt into the beta for the beta on early access. Terry gets more competition. This time someone made a 3D cave flyer. And Peter Molyneux's overpromising strikes again. Why do we care? Godas actually had Linux as a stretch goal.
And I'm Vin Stone here at LGC Actual. You'll have to excuse us. This is a time-shifted version. We're not used to doing this business sober. And a tamed Canadian podcaster.
Ah!
He's so white. He's so lovely.
I know.
Angelico.
It's because of the pregnancy.
But
really
still,
is.
all the way from Space Portugal, Pedro Mateus, and together with Chatrealm Dynamic, joining us for this special time-warped edition, we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. So, gentlemen, anything fun going on in your life organs this week before we get started?
Well, the work
Yeah.
sauce decided they want to give me more money, so that's always good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Go
Okay,
ahead. Get it out
mine's
of your
not so
system.
good. Instead of getting more money, I spent. Namely, I got a Steam machine. Well, sorta, kinda. If you haven't been paying attention to Chatrealm Static, you should go there. There's a
Or
thread there called-
any other social media network ever.
Yeah, that too. I'm kind of a whore when it comes to that. So, yeah, you can go on there. There's the specs. There's actually a link to PC Part Picker. Because that website, when it comes to whoring out your builds, kind of awesome.
Ah, yes,
Okay.
seeking out the validation.
Absolutely
of others.
nothing to report here. I'm still in a frantic stage of, oh, look, we got to start a show in 2 fucking hours. Let's see if we can get home and get everything set up. But let's set up the horse.
Oh yeah, the horse is tired of developers constantly bribing their customers, and it's decided to put one of its hooves down. It's our Steam
Lex!
Update.
This is from the Steam database Twitter feed, and they give a post to an announcement, or they post an image capture of an announcement.
Mhm.
Basically, apparently, some developers that have decided they really want to get on Steam so bad they're actually giving out keys in exchange for Greenlight votes, which kind of strikes me as counterintuitive, considering they're voting for the right to pay for your game. So why are you doing that? Can you not pay? Are you saying your game is literally so bad you have to pay people to play it?
Yes, they. I think this has answered one of our long-standing questions. Like, how the hell did this piece of shit get greenlit?
Yep.
But
Now we know.
what do you think, P-Man?
Steam Greenlight, the process, it was actually a good idea at Genesis, but people will always find a way to exploit it. And
Fuck it up,
Valve
yeah.
actually getting in there and saying, no, you cannot do this. We're trying to make this so people can sort of decide what goes up on the store and not get shitty games. And yeah, it's defeating the purpose, like Jordan said.
That's lovely. Coming up
That
next.
makes no sense.
Dead Island. You know it, you love it, you hate it. There's a patch, though. What is this? Looting issue. Okay, looting issues. Little tiny bug. Well, just about every drop you get sports drinks, Brad. Full screen, enabled by default. They fixed some gamma, reduced the executable file size, and fixed a bug with repairing a weapon up to 100%. I thought you said the weapons were breaking left and right now.
Yeah, they are. The durability of the weapon seems to have decreased. I don't know if that was part of the fix, but they break a hell of a lot easier now.
One thing I noticed with this is resolution. Come on. 2880 by 2048. What is that? I mean,
What is that, actually? Yeah.
yeah.
Does someone have a name they want to slap on that? Actually, the game we're reviewing this week has some odd resolution choices as well. But,
It does. I mean, even the 980 was like, I don't even know what the fuck that resolution is, Brad. And I was like, I don't blame you, man. No fault on you, NVIDIA. I would really like to try it out in 4K, but then again, I would have to play that piece of shit all over again, so we're skipping that business.
Yep.
Da-da-da-da,
Reflex
da-da-da-da-da.
Studios. They're going to Distance, apparently, with the experimental branch. So if you own Distance on Steam, you can now go to the Betas tab and opt into the experimental branch. But be careful. They actually say that if you do, your profile, your in-game profile, might not be compatible if you ever decide to go back to the non-experimental version, and it will
back that shit up.
Back that
yeah,
ass up, baby.
it will probably corrupt it if you're not careful. But hey, if you like living on the edge and you want to get in early on the new stuff coming to Distance, and you want to help the Reflex Studio guys actually get Distance up to speed, and maybe hopefully get them to release it faster, you can do that, and it will probably help to have a decent racing game on Linux, please.
Well, this one's coming along. I mean, if you get into that extra beta business, minor performance, Logitech G27 support with force feedback, yay.
Yay.
Sandy's going to be happy.
One thing I noticed is that there is difficulty tracking on the maps. And I was like, oh, I've been playing this on Fuck You, That's Why. Switch that back down to Vin speed. One thing I really want to see is like car skidding, because one thing I loved about Trackmania and trolling France, I don't know why I always troll France, but I do, was driving around in my General Lee with a horn and just schooling everyone. It was brilliant.
That's how you do it.
So,
But
are you hungry?
Man, this.
Ugh, okay.
This
Don't
was a game
start
we talked
together.
about.
You like Minecraft, right? Right?
Uh-huh.
People?
Yeah, right.
For those of you who don't know, Don't Starve is basically what happens if Notch and Tim Burton had a baby and that baby made a Minecraft clone.
Right. But basically, this just brings the Linux beta. The password is OSX Linux beta.
Actually, this is Don't Starve Together, which is the paid expansion
Right, that's
to
what I was
the
just,
game.
yeah. Well,
Don't
here's the
Starve.
thing. Players who currently own Don't Starve on Steam will get Don't Starve after we're done milking early access.
Oh, yeah.
So if you really want to play it as DLC called multiplayer, that's going to be 17.24 wet stinky caches. And I was kind of disappointed because I just read that first and I was like, oh, wait, we must have that. It'll be a fun little game since we've already have Dart. And it's like, I'm not paying for this shit. Not for multiplayer. So,
yeah.
It's troubling, and it just smacks of, we need money, and we don't want to put out a new product. So we're going to add multiplayer and charge you for it.
What was that game even about? You just run around and try not to go mad?
It's a survival sandbox. That's really all it is.
And you have to maintain
it's Tim Burton's
your
Minecraft.
Yeah, you
the
have to maintain
Minecraft
your
before
hunger and
Christmas.
sanity levels, high enough, so otherwise you'd start to get some blurry ass filters on screen. It was annoying. But hey, you know what else is annoying? Trying to fly a lunar module that's being propelled by propane tanks on some weird wireframey thing.
You need some propane accessories to help out with that.
Indeed.
Yeah. But
tell
no,
you
this
what.
is Crashed Lander. It's a cave flyer / lunar lander in 3D, done in the Unity engine as is tradition. And this is one of the things that jumped out at me. You can get a working demo for your pleasure for free. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden over here, disguised as downloaded demo. I played with it. It's I was kind of scared at first because it had the Unity resolution screen of this isn't going to fucking work. And I said, okay, I took the Pepsi challenge, click run. Controller organ worked fine, didn't have an issue with it, so it's kind of fun. You played with it for 10 seconds, didn't you?
Yeah, Pedro describes it in the notes as a 3D retro booster. I looked at the trailer. It's like, yeah, that kind of looks like it. Picked it up. Yeah, this is literally 3D retro booster. That is an apt description if I've ever heard one before. But it's cheap. So, cheap as free if you want to try it out. It's what, like?
Yeah, it is. The demo is free. The game itself is not very expensive. It's like $5.99. So if you like the demo, pick it up. It is stock full of the, stock Unity assets. Keep that in mind, and the menu just screams Unity whenever when you first launch the game and you get it to the main menu. It's just screaming, "I'm a Unity game." So yeah, if that doesn't deter you, it's actually pretty fun.
All right.
So this next one's kind of neat. So patron chatroom member and piece of fruit Mango Chan was in the Steam forums today. Not today, on February 12th. He asked Blair from Aspire, "Hey, because of this Octodad thing from last week, what are your sales figures for Linux? Be interesting to see what they're making on any given game." And Blair responds and he says, "They're on games where they have a simultaneous release deity with Windows and Mac, they get about 25 to 50% of their Linux of their Mac numbers in terms of Linux purchases, which is actually pretty good if you consider the just volume of Mac gamers on Steam versus the volume of Linux gamers on Steam. Realistically, for this number to go up, Linux needs a bigger foothold in the mainstream market. So there's really not much else we can do aside from put our eggs in the Steambox basket and hope that it pays off.
Yeah, Linux as a desktop operating system will probably remain as big a niche target as it currently is. But considering that Google kind of took the mobile market by storm, just having the Linux kernel running a Java virtual machine, as long as Valve doesn't screw the pooch when it comes to the Steam boxes, I think that they'll be at least half as popular as the PS4, maybe?
Yeah, possibly.
Again, there's the whole issue of time to market. Because the current gen consoles have had about a year of being out and people just buying them because they want a console, they want to play video games. For Steam to release a console so late in that cycle, it's gonna present some marketing troubles because people have already spent their money. They don't necessarily want to spend more of their money. And I'm worried that Steambox will just sort of become this enthusiast piece of hardware that people really like, but doesn't really get a mainstream foothold.
It could be, but both the PS4 and the Xboner combined have
as much as we like to get behind
games.
Valve and Gaben, we have to remain cautiously optimistic.
I think a lot of it's going to boil down to that controller, man. Because
maybe.
If
the Areola controller.
That's the thing. I mean, if you're a PC user, people are going to say, well, you can use auto aim and auto lock. We don't use that. Still, no. But that's called cheating on the PC. So if they can get that controller right where you can play your FERPs, maybe. But then again, they're going to have to build a competitive, like you guys are saying, system. That is not stupid expensive. But then again, you're competing against almost 3-year-old laptop hardware known as next-gen consoles.
4-year-old.
Current gen.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But Jordan, was it Jordan or Juven that threw this in the notes? It's Decay, the mayor. And, the horse gets its own game. I'm like, okay, maybe something about horses. But no, someone is trying very hard to be Silent Hill. But my very first thought when I arrived at that page is, what kind of a title is that?
Oh, really? My first thought's, hey, look, Unity.
Yeah. I saw the mayor, mayor horse. Come on, it's a horse game.
I can imagine some, meeting within the development team going like, oh, we have 2 titles we can use for the game, but we can't really make up our minds. Oh, I know. Let's just use them both.
We're not going to be able to hear anything, gentlemen. I've just did a bit of research here with the sound card. We will need the DirectX 9.ZC compatible sound card.
I didn't even notice that one.
Well, at least it'll actually run on a Linux operating system and not mystery glib COS.
Well, I mean, it's kind of my method right there. When I see a busted-looking game like this, I know they're going to fuck something up in the system wreck, so I always see it down here.
It's a copy pasta.
Right.
This is apparently a tribute to stuff like Phantasmagoria.
I actually did some Googling on this game, and episode 1 of Decay the Mare is available on the Windows Store /XBLA for $249. On Steam, it does not say that it is an episodic thing, and it costs $10. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like the idea of getting scammed.
Well, again, this is 90% of the mobile ports on Steam currently. You can pick them up on for a buck on the Android store, and they charge $10 for PC. It's ridiculous. So don't buy this game. End of story.
Yeah.
Coming up next, we take on Washington and the Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
It's a week of LGC where we don't start the news with some form of driver / hardware from either NVIDIA or AMD. No, this one starts with the FSF. Jordan, tell us about it.
Yeah. FSF, you're thinking of the EFF, buddy.
Right, EFF. My bad.
Yeah, okay. So what this is, basically, the DMCA is sort of a necessary evil in the land of American politics. But it's horribly out of date, and back when it was written in, 1998 or some such? Yeah, it was written by people who didn't really understand technology and who didn't really see where it was going. And so there are a bunch of anti-circumvention protections to stop piracy, which we now know is not actually an issue of, people trying to steal stuff. It's more of a, service and convenience issue. But anyways, so the EFF is petitioning the Library of Congress to add an exception in the DMCA, specifically for their anti-circumvention rules, to allow people to rewrite game servers for abandoned games. Now, they specifically say this is only for games that require servers for check-in or multiplayer, not MMOs or persistent worlds, which will still be protected because that's a concession you need to make. Otherwise, anyone can run their own World of Warcraft server, and Blizzard makes no money. And you can't have that happening now, can you? But what this would essentially allow for is people, for games like, Need for Speed Underground or Sacred, or if BattleNet ever goes down, like old school BattleNet, it gives people the right to write compatible software to facilitate multiplayer, or even the new SimCity game that requires server check-ins for no fucking reason. They'd be able to just reconstruct something that gives that check-in, so you can actually make the game work. Because as it currently stands, once a company shuts down the servers for a game, no matter how active their player base is, they're essentially fucked. And the DMCA allows companies to basically sit on this property for the entire life of the copyright, which can be up to 70 years. And the fans of the game are left high and dry. So it's a shitty form of DRM and lock-in that should not exist in the first place. The EFF has pointed this out, and they want to make a change. So I implore you all to go and support this measure. If you live in the US, they have some sort of form email on their sites, if I recall correctly. So definitely click that business.
They actually come up with something along these lines every now and again, because every now and again I'll see a post on Google Plus about just this thing, and it's always a link to the EFF website, and this needs to happen. Admittedly, I'd still probably be playing the original Need for Speed Underground if I could play the multiplayer, because it was stupidly fun back in 2002, 2003. Yeah, it was a pretty fun game. That, or if we're talking Linux now, Sacred Gold's multiplayer. I used to play a lot of that, a lot more than the Diablo 2 multiplayer. Another Linux game that also suffered with this was Neverwinter Nights, which, with GameSpy shutting down and BioWare's master server having shut down long before that, around the same time that they were acquisitioned by EA, this needs to happen badly.
I think it's definitely a good idea. People are going to fight against it tooth and nail. I mean, even with that check-in system we were talking during the segment break, and I was like, but can't we just wait 10 years and keep it locked up so we can release a remastered version?
Yeah, and that's what happens. It's crappy. And again, it leaves fans who are more dedicated than the developers who made these games and the companies who have to fund them high and dry.
No, it's definitely stunting them, because nobody wants to go through the work of reverse engineering that noise to have, boom, get slapped with a DCMA takedown. I'm like,
Exactly.
crap.
It creates a chilling effect for legal forms of, or what should be legal forms of innovation, to protect a minority who are making money off it, as opposed to the greater good, which is supposed to be what laws do: protect the greater good, but not when you can buy them. Politics. But speaking of buying stuff, Brad
Took our job.
Yeah, that's right. If you head over to the mailman.lug.uk/pipermail/blah blah blah, all these links in our show notes. Basically, Feral is looking for students to come on to their team and help develop Linux games. Now, they want people with C, C++ skills, Linux familiarity, people who know OpenGL or DirectX. But let's be upfront with this. This is a slave labor job.
Mm-hmm.
If you like Redditing at work, this job is not for you. If you want to be like Flibbit, who basically eats, sleeps, and breathes Linux gaming, or Iculus, or whoever, this is actually a good way to get your foot in the door, and you should definitely apply. This is for a 6-month contract in London. So if you are one of our English fans, which is a majority, am I right, Ben?
Pretty much.
Most of our... Yeah. So if you are in England land, and you want a job developing Linux games and you're a student, check this stuff out. Send them an email. You should contact Ian Bullock. That name sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm. Actually, just go to recruiting.
Yeah.
This will be in the notes, and look at all this business. And I did a little research last year. They had some intern sniping going on, which paid position, though, 17,000 wet limey pounds. So I'm kind of with J-Man on this. If you want to get in and have your brain meats filled with knowledge, I think that's a good thing. What do you think, P-Man?
At 17,000, that's actually not too bad.
It's probably not going to be 17,000. It's probably going to be a little more than that, because this is a contract position and not an internship.
Yeah, the original intern sniping thing that Ven mentioned was at 17,000, and I was doing maths with the help of Google, and 17,000 is around 25,000 euros. As an intern now, a year I make slightly more than 20,000, so that's actually not too bad. And if you really like, if you want to be the next Iculus, the next Linux gaming industry person, this is your thing. Although there was one thing, there was a definite disturbing lack of SDL mentioned in this post. People really need to start using SDL.
Maybe if you want to take the time, if you get the position, to pimp the benefits of SDL to the fine folks at Feral, they might be inclined to actually use it.
Yeah. All right, so this next thing is incredibly racist. It's the Dark Mod. And I know.
Racist!
Announcing the new Dark Mod 2Z3 update. Tons of new things. Actually, there's more in here than you would actually mention. And if you're wondering, other than what is the Dark Mod? Well, it started out, I believe it was on the Quake, Doom engine, right?
Doom 3,
the Doom 3 engine. And it was kind of a sticky thing where they were using a lot of the original assets. Then these psychopaths went back and replaced all of the assets with homegrown business, and you can just download it and play it for free. A couple things that's going on with this that I noticed, I mean, this sold me right here, was candle smoke. I've been playing the Dark Mod for ages, and finally, I can say the candle smoke is there.
On the water, fire in the sky.
Yeah. You had a couple of things, right, with the AI textures?
Yeah. So, the highlights of this release of the Dark Total conversion, because it's not the Dark Mod anymore. It's a total conversion. It's on a standalone version of the Doom 3 engine. Whatever. So there are improved textures. You get your candle smoke. And there's actually improved AI. So the guards will now actively work intelligently. They will attempt to manage choke points. They'll coordinate more. They won't just all sort of pile into one area. They'll actually check for corners and rooms, like an intelligence sweeper would actually do. But they do lose the ability to see through walls, so no more extra specs.
There's actually better than Oblivion and Skyrim in the early versions right then and there.
Well, go over there, check that out, because it is priced to sell at free, and there's no fancy lackady hairdo DLC that they're trying to game you for, and it's just an
Yeah.
awesome-ass project. So,
But it kind of needs a proper campaign, in my opinion.
that's true.
Yeah.
All right.
Go write one for them.
Go, Gadget Godus.
Godus. You
Baldy.
may remember Pete Molyneux. He was relevant during the 90s, and
Black
then
and
he
white.
made some couple of really bad promises with Fable and some other games, and he kind of fell into obscurity, and he was canned out of his company, and ironically, he started a company of his own called 22 Cans. But yeah, a while ago they made a Kickstarter for Godus. It's a god game, much in the sense of Black and White back in the day, for those who remember that. And
That's
one
racist.
one of the things that game promised during the Kickstarter campaign was a multiplayer mode. A multiplayer mode which the winner of his mobile game, it was called Curiosity, What's Inside the Cube. Whomever won that game would actually get to play God, in the God of Gods, as it were, in the multiplayer thing. So Godus is actually in the pooper right now. Most of the team either left the company or went on to a different game. They're calling it Trails or Trials, something along the Trails. Yeah, that's the one.
I actually did you read the interview they had with Peter on Rock Paper Shotgun? First question, and Iculus was hating on the guy for it, but I thought it was hilarious. First question, number 1: are you a pathological liar? This is important.
I didn't read
he
the Rock,
spent
Paper,
the rest of the
Shotgun
entire
one.
interview on the defensive. It was quite entertaining to read. Not very good in terms of an interview, but entertaining nonetheless.
Linux was a stretch goal, and if you know anything, do not support Kickstarters that use Linux as a stretch goal. We've learned that the
Ever.
hard way. Period.
And
Ever,
this is-
ever.
£525,000. They blew through that business, and
Yeah.
day one, they start writing it with an engine that doesn't support Linux going, haha, in stereo. So,
Yep. I didn't read the Rock Paper Shotgun interview, but I did read the Eurogamer one with the guy that actually won the Curiosity What's Inside the Cube app. And
Yeah, no, the
Fluff-
RPS one was with Peter himself.
yeah, this was with the winner, and he was actually taken to 22 Cans, and he got to meet the entire team, and he got to play the early build of the game. But fluff aside, it seems as though Molyneux's propensity to overpromise and underdeliver extends not only to his games, but to the promises that he makes to his players / backers. Anyone who's ever even heard of Peter Molyneux knows that he overpromises and never delivers.
that's why
So
when this
if-
Kickstarter project started, I went, you fools.
Yeah, so if you knew about him and you still back this particular Kickstarter, it's your own damn fault. It's caveat emptor. Conrad,
But,
the current head of the Godus team is Conrad Nazinski. And he said himself that he doesn't believe that they would be able to achieve all the Kickstarter goals. So there
Or
goes the
art
Linux version.
book, or making it work.
But speaking of God games, here's one that goes from running on nothing to running on everything.
Giggity, giggly little
My
mania.
God, this thing
man.
literally runs on Amigas.
Yeah,
literally runs on
honestly
Amigas.
thought that your Amiga OS4 was of no use anymore. Yo, it's back, Brad. Along with Nokia smartphones. Seriously,
Pandora, fucking
Morph OS,
OS, EOS, Haiku, whatever.
Dead Badges, you name
Haiku,
it.
that's
What is this?
interesting.
Well, it's kind of like a godlike game. I tried to figure it out. I didn't bother compiling it because I was kind of rushed today, but I did I did sideload it. It's in the Google Play Store. Go and grab that business. Put it in there, and I was like, what am I supposed to fucking be doing? And I went over to the page, and it's like, here's how the quick start guide. And I after like the 30th paragraph, I was like, you know what? Fuck that noise. But it does say, it's like, oh, well, if you expect to just sit down and play this and have fun, fuck you, because that's why. Here's the quick start.
I'm getting
So
some
they're
fake
actually
color
staying true
flashbacks
to
of how to
their
read- how to play
90s
this
game origins, apparently.
But several things have been fixed in this. I didn't even get that far. Check it out. It's free. I mean, it runs on everything. I just thought that was neat.
Gigalomania.
Gigalomania.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, prepare your ear pussies because Jordan is going in.
Oh, you know it. All right, so a couple years ago, I backed a little Kickstarter called Pillars of It. Project Eternity, actually. This was from Obsidian. They said, we want to make a spiritual sequel to Planescape Torment and that sort of style of game. And of course, you know, a couple months later, the fine folks from Monty Cook Games and In Exile said, no, we're going to do it. And we actually have most of the original staff, so we're going to do it better. Empty actually first alerted me to the fact that this thing was out and running on Linux finally, which it's a Unity game, so it fucking should. The audio is entirely busted, but yeah, it's Baldur's Gate. It is a complete re-implementation of the Infinity engine down to like the little bits of like tactical combat. They did change the system because they don't have the rights to AD&D. They could have used like Labyrinth Lord or Osric or some shit, but they decided to go with their own property. And yeah, it's AD&D level of unforgiving. You will die a lot. You got to pay attention to positioning. It's not turn-based, which kind of threw me off because you got to pay, and you have to pay attention to your guys' cooldowns. I haven't really gotten the hang of the system yet, but I'm going to be reading into it quite a bit. And if this is any indication of what's coming, because this team and the Torment Tides of Numenera team are sharing a code base, I'm super fucking excited for Torment.
But what's the price on Brad?
Well, so if you wanted to access the beta, you actually have to get it through Kickstarter, and then a couple months ago, they gave you the option to pay extra a la Distance to get access to the beta. So that, if you wanted beta access, that would have cost you about $50. $25 actually gets you a copy of the game. So not everyone got this, but I just wanted to gush about this because I'm so excited. There are like no RPGs on Linux, and now here's one that's basically just Infinity Engine 2, and it's like, yes! All
right.
It is a good day if you're an RPG fan on Linux. It is a good day, but assuming, and it is Obsidian's name that is stamped all over this thing, I'm going to reserve judgment until such time comes when I have played it. Because I still have a bone to pick with the Obsidian guys over Fallout New Vegas, KOTOR 2, and Neverwinter Nights 2.
See, I liked KOTOR 2, aside from the fact that if you weren't good or evil enough, the game broke.
Yeah, it was buggy as fuck.
But I like the story, I like the gameplay. But whatever. Coming up next, we discuss racism and Yellowface. Heathens! Behold! The CHAIRQUISITION! Look at our fancy CHAIRQUISITION robes! Can you not see our legitimacy? We are reviewing Wooden Sen'SeY from Upper Byte Studios, a game written on the Unity. It's a little platformer. We'll go into that a bit more in detail later on in the review. You can pick it up for $9.99 wet stinky space bucks or regular bucks because regional pricing is not a thing at all. So, what is it? Wooden Sen'SeY is an action platformer set in the unique Japan steam rock universe filled with humor. You follow Goro, the not-four-armed village chief, as he seeks revenge. Through a variety of levels, he will defeat his enemies using axes to slice, dice, squash, and grapple, and rip people's hearts out of their chests or rips their heads right out of their shoulders after some guy says, fatality! And of course, with every CHAIRQUISITION, we have the CHAIRQUISITION. It's, one chair means that it's shit, 2 chairs means that it's meh, 3 chairs means that it's pretty good, and 4 chairs means that it's awesome! And of course, we have our categories, though Doom, Make What's Working, Shiny Sounds, Controls, and Fun. So let's kick this super racist review off to a good start. Ben, did it make with the working?
That's incredibly racist. Seriously. Over here in Finland, how did it work? Well, brothers and sisters, gather around. So I will tell you. On the Ubuntu 1404 LTS, 980 powered, 4K displayed. Box of business. No issues. Everything worked genuinely. First time, out of the box. And of course you're wondering, Vin, how many FERPs do you get in 4K glory with that 980? On this particular game, somewhere around 70. So, all that good business lined up for 4 chairs, J-Man.
On the Fedora 20 64-bit AMD 1090Ti NVIDIA 670 Superclocked box juggling-ness by my foot. No issues. Averages at about like 500 some odd frames a second with everything turned up to 11. So you know how graphically demanding this system or this game is. Oof, 4 chairs.
Yeah, well, it is Unity, so you get what you pay for. But on the Amiga, with the FX 8370E and the GTX 970 Strix, it worked fine, no issues. But I actually played it the most on my new Steam box, which comes with an Athlon 860K at 4 gigahertz and 750 Ti. It also worked out of the box, no issues. So 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 4 chairs for mixed with the working. I'm having way too much fun playing with these stupid sleevey things. Up next to Shiny and Sounds. Ben, were you impressed?
Well, Brother Svang.
Were your various space pussies tickled?
My pussies were most definitely tickled with this noise. You're gonna get through the first level. This is something I genuinely believe the developer sent me a copy billions of years ago in the future's past. I never got around to playing it. It was one of those things I was like, why is this in my library? Looked at it and I was like, I would never have bought this. Decided to play it. I was bored one day for a moment. Got through that first level. Went to the end. I was like, this is kind of fun. Second level's jarring because you're in a fucking submarine and it's not yellow. Just nasty, nasty, nastiness, all that. But the soundtrack kicked in. I was like, this is fucking amazeballs. I like it. It really fit with everything. The sound effects, they're all right. They're not bad. It's a platformer. What do you want? Bleep and bloop. Not enough to ding at a chair. So I really like the aesthetics of this. Because you got to get past that first level. And later on, you see some just gorgeously laid out stuff. Just not in that first level, Brad. So, 4 chairs for the shinies and their sounds. Brother Swing.
That's so generous. The resolution options aren't that great. It defaults to like 640 by 480. And the most you can get it to is like 1024 by some weird other number.
576?
570. What the hell is that resolution?
Netbook
FUVGA?
resolution.
I have no idea. Either way, I was hoping to play this at 1080p or at least 720p. That was not the case. The soundtrack's a bit of all right. No real issue with that. The game looks nice for what it is. I mean, that's the aesthetic it's going for. So I wouldn't say it's mind-blowing, but it certainly sets out and accomplishes all the goals it was going for. So 3 chairs.
Unfortunately, I am going to be the one guy in this review who does not seem to fall in line with everyone else.
Conform with your peers, drone.
But yeah, why would you put motion blur on a platformer? Who in their right mind thinks that blurring the fucking screen is a good idea in a game where you need to see where you're landing? Also, both Ben and Jordan already mentioned the soundtrack, but I am assuming that the later levels have some really awesome songs. I don't have any idea. 30 seconds in, I had already muted the damn thing because I couldn't put up with it.
And put on Nickelback.
I can't give it 1 chair because that means that the game is busted, but I can certainly give it 2.
All right, so that averages out to 3 chairs for Shiny and Sound. Up next is Control. Ben, did you feel like you were in control?
Well, we always do have this thing. I don't know about you lot, but with me, you start something. You're like, well, this says it has controller support. So normally I have the Xclone controller sitting over here. So I just reach over and kind of poke at it. And I'm like, yeah, is that going to work? And if something moves, I'm like, oh, all right. Pick that up. Menus, everything works. Start game, let's go. They're good. They are good. They're not fuzzy. They are responsive enough to allow you to accomplish what you're trying to do. Now, might say they could use a bit of tightening, but that adds just enough to the fuck you hard of this game. And it's not pure fuck you hard. It's like, fuck you, you're going to get angry and come back and try to finish that level, which it did to me multiple times. I have like 2 ons clocked in this business. For a reason I'll get into a bit later. Yeah, it worked. I don't know. Some people might try to play it with a keyboard organ. Good luck with that. So, for the controls, I'll give it 4 massive chairs.
Yeah, any platformer that requires that you use the analog stick immediately gets dinged a chair, because you cannot do any platforming worth a damn when there's very little distinguishing between up and left or right. Anyways, this game gives me a very Bionic Commando vibe with the control scheme, and I was a huge fan of Bionic Commando. I had like the Game Boy version, and I played the shit out of it constantly. So this was a nice throwback for me. The jump arc is kind of weird, because what it'll do is you'll not quite make it, but you'll grab yourself and prop yourself up. So whenever I'm trying to gauge my jumps, that always screws me up, and that was getting kind of annoying. I mean, beyond that, the controls work reasonably well, and I don't really have anything else to say beyond that. So 3 chairs for control.
Yeah,
And the naysayer.
Controls-wise, I will give them this. It is a Unity game that recognized the PS2 DualShock, which I do not have near me. It's currently plugged into the Steam box.
Jesus
But
Christ.
I do have this one laying around, and I did not need Aaron Plattner's fix to get the game to recognize the NVIDIA Shield controller, because it actually recognized it. But this game has the exact same problem that Forced, you may remember Forced from a while ago, it has the exact same problem that that game did, which sometimes if you move the left analog stick up or left, it doesn't recognize it. It just recognizes right and down. That's it. Why? I don't fucking know. That's
Probably because you're using an unsupported controller with a hack. I was a betting man.
Technically, no. This is just however it gets detected by Linux. That's how it worked. I didn't even use the hack for this game because it sort of kind of recognized it. But if I emulated which usually what fixes it is if I use Xbox DRV to emulate the 360 controller, most Unity games just run fine with it. They work. Except this game did not. Sometimes it would recognize, okay, you have a 360 controller plugged in. Sometimes it would go, oh, you have no controller plugged in. Oh, okay. So, but again, credit where credit is due. They made a platformer in Unity where the jumping isn't completely floaty as they tend to be. So for me, it gets 3 chairs.
And that's 3 chairs for controls. And finally, the subjective category, the one you're waiting for, fun. Ben, did you have fun?
This is where it starts breaking down, Brother Swing.
Preach on, Brother Ben.
Can I get a ramen? Seriously.
No.
Ramen.
All right. So, there's checkpoints in these levels. These levels are huge. That you're not cheaping out on that. Now, I made the mistake because I was in the second submarine level. It's like, okay, and I finally got to the point where I just kept on noping against something. I was like, oh, take a break. Checkpoint. Got a checkpoint. I'll pick up from that. Closed it. Went off. Came back. Nope. Start back at the beginning. I was pissed off initially. And I was like, that's kind of harkening back. Not completely, because if this was Super Mario, which I was like, that's the ultimate platformer, that motherfucker would start you back at level Z1. So,
Yep.
I would like to see that checkpoint save, because I know there's got to be an ability to do that business. But, those long levels, they are long, Brad. You want to say that? It's a proper mix of fuck you hard and legitimate challenge for me. These two heathens suck at platformers. They just can't wrap their little brain organs around it. This is good. It's not fantastic. You started off, like I said, you have to get past that first level. When I first started, I went, oh shit, here's another fucking Unity mobile app. And you get to playing, and it's done very well. The graphics are very well done. The stages are well thought out. And there's just enough of that yeah, to go, I'm going to try that one more time. 9 times later after you've done that. So, for the fun, I'm going to give this 3 chairs. It's not a proper time vampire, as you'd say, but for that price, it's pretty fuck all good.
Oh yeah, there are definitely a couple of moments where I'm just like, fucking really? Seriously? God damn it.
It kind of lets you explore it out and come up with your own solution of how to get this done.
It kind of does. I like how all the enemies have like a distinct strategy, and they'll throw like several of them at you at once. So you sort of have to mix up what you're doing. One issue I have is if you're in like the slightest proximity to the enemy, you'll take damage. And that ends up nickel and diming you to death more often than not. Again, a lot of my complaints come with the fact that it requires you to use the analog stick, which is not the most accurate thing on the planet. And yeah, just the nickel and diming. I will say that it's in terms of like a straight up platformer, it does a pretty good, or rather an action platformer, it does a pretty good job. Like I said, it does remind me a lot of Bionic Commando, so it gets a lot of points for sentimentality. But I do think it could use a bit more polish, and with a little more polish, this would be a very good Steambox title. This could be like a Castle Crashers type game that Valve could market for the Steambox. But when all is said and done, I'm a bit on the fence, so I got to give it 2 chairs.
Yeah, I don't like platformers, and like Brother Vin mentioned earlier, I'm not very good at them, but if they're good, if they have some element to set it apart from the rest of the platformers, I can usually get behind them. Like Rogue Legacy has the whole randomness / the legacy type thing that your current character gets bonuses from your previous character, and the whole roguelite elements going for it. Awesome Knots has the whole MOBA thing going for it. Jazz Jackrabbit 2 back in the day had this awesome soundtrack that had no business being in that game, but because it was much better than everything else. This game, on the other hand, has some loud-ass music that got muted after less than a minute. And even I got to like level 4, and I didn't hear any more music because that very first level kind of killed it for me. And, of course, it has motion blur, which only gets disabled if you push the graphic settings far too much of the way down. So for me, it gets 1 chair.
All right, so that is 2 chairs for fun, and we totaled that all up to get our final verdict of 3 chairs. Brother Ven, do you have any final thoughts before we send this game to its fate?
Motion blur didn't bother me, Pedro, because my eyes work. Outside of that, one thing I would like to see added to it, on one hand, I could say maybe tighten the controls up, but using the analog, that doesn't bother me because I never use a fucking controller. So I'm like, I just learned how to use that. Not a big issue, and I see in chat room there's a bit of a debate about, column A and column B. One thing I would like to see is aiming your little hooky business as opposed to just going straight up, because that thing is an awesome fucking weapon. Mix that in with the ability to checkpoint save, and I think you would have a proper time vampire. Any last thoughts, P-Man?
It needs something else to really set it apart from the crowd. I cannot recommend it as it is.
Butt plugs. Coming up next, we deal with Wibbly Wobbly, Timey Wimey, and Artifex Mundi tries to slip in our back door. We'll tell you how that turns out.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is my favorite segment of the show. It is the hate mail. But before we get to that, let's kick on over to our Patreon, because apparently someone else has proven that they're fiscally irresponsible enough to, support us.
It's
who was it
Jonas
this week? Janus? Janus.
Jonas.
Janus.
No, this is brilliant. We got 17 Patreons, 56.87 per Saturday Night Trainwreck. We got 3 milestones. We're coming up on Trine again. So if we get another 20-something quid, we'll be forced into the agony that is starting that nasty business
of attempting to
all
play a
over.
cooperative game between the three of us. Yeah.
If you've never seen it, it's
Yep.
true nightmare fuel. It's not something we enjoy doing. So
Yeah, no,
Keep
you
that
can
in
tell
mind.
by the
I
end
mean,
of it,
you can
there's cuss
actually
words flying around.
torture us by giving us 5 cents works, man. You never know. I mean, $1, that's even better. You get the Super Squad thing and all that business, and we got a couple of other rewards going on right there. If you want to be empty, he has his own level. It's called Chicago Kicks Ass. 3 people are
does.
backing
There's
that.
already 3 patrons.
You
on
want
that
some
one.
of that show note access before we go live? You can see how the sausage is made to 50 per show.
yeah.
And J-Man, they can set caps to not
Yeah,
spend too much, right?
if you're worried that you're going to spend way too much money per month if we all of a sudden decide to make this Linux Gamecast bi-weekly, you can set up a cap so you don't go over your limits. But now for the hate mail, it's just a jump to the left.
Well, first
right
you
to
got to
the
head
right.
over to linuxgamecast.com.
Yes.
Yeah, do the
So
time
you go
warp
over to
there.
linuxgamecast.com, you push that contact button on the nav bar there, you fill out the form, prove you're smarter than whatever Ven's CAPTCHA happens to be this week, and we will feature your message, unless, of course, oh, hey, there's actually a new thing in there.
Mm-hmm.
Ven,
Uh,
you have the
Attention,
ability.
game novels. Listen to the voice of Ed. Want us to take a look at your game question mark? Send 3 keys, Brad. Seriously. Now, I revised this from earlier because I need to point this out. It did say, send us 3 keys, but if you want somebody to blindly parrot your press release or whatever, head over to phronix.com.
Sure, yeah.
So,
Give
coming up
Laravel
first.
some actual factual news. But hey, time slip. Apparently, Mr. No, wait, those are reversed.
It's a time slip.
Yeah.
It's a
Nathan
time
Weber.
warp.
This is a very Krylik name. Very Russian that Slexy went, nah, we're not having that.
Yeah, so from episode 116, he says, lol, first of all, time slip is she. Secondly, she's an author of Asphalt, which is expansion and not re-implementation, and dropped quote-unquote port, which was based on the disasm plus hooks to SDL. There's just nothing for us to take from there. Well, we surely look sometimes in disasm to see how original engine works. Anyway, thanks for PR, comrades. Well, yeah, so if you don't remember this, we talked on episode...
I don't remember this.
yeah,
Did
it
this
was
happen?
the Fallout re-implementation. A Russian team that started a engine rewrite for the original Fallout, Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. And I kind of claim that, they kind of had a look at the time slip port that she apparently never finished, and they just copied and started working from there. They say that they didn't, and I actually went Googling for time slip to see if I could figure out if it was in fact a she, and it is. It is very much a girl, and that's kind of awesome. There's a girl that pretty much dictated the latter campaigns of my Fallout playthroughs.
You gotta look for Slippy from Star Fox.
But yeah, the so-called drop port was what I referred to as a engine re-implementation. But yeah, okay. You didn't take anything from her thing, and do you have any news on when your engine port will be playable? That's
Probably
what I'm
not.
interested in.
So, moving on.
Come on, you Pete, I swear.
Author. Well, actually, let me see. The author is Lucas.
Well, I'll take this one.
Okay.
This is from Artifacts Mundi, because they actually contacted me on Steam.
Oh, and before that, they contacted with the same business before.
Yes.
Well, so they contacted Ven, didn't work out. I get a friend request on Steam. Oh, Artifacts Monday wants to be my friend. Yay! I don't have any friends. This will be nice. So they give me this shit, and it's pretty much a copy pasta. Would you be interested in free copy of their new Nightmares of the Deep 3? To which my first reaction was, wait, they made a second one? They made a third one? But they want to know if we're interested in, you know, talking about their game, Nightmares of the Deep 3, Curse of Davy Jones's, I don't know, crotch rot. I don't know. We don't have any press release material to give you to parrot, as you blindly put it above, but we're happy to provide you with info and keys if you wish. Please let us know your thoughts. Kind regards, Lucas Slipko, and Ben threw up the... hi, Lena. How's it going? For those of you who are listening on the audio track. So, yes, they tried to get around our back door by coming to me, which is the wrong thing to do, because I don't care.
Yeah, they actually sent me an email around the same time that they sent that one to Ven, and I kind of replied to them. Look, we love you guys. As far as hidden object games go, yours are the best. But even Nori, because she's the one who really enjoys your games, she's getting tired of playing what seems like the same game over and over again. So you guys need to branch out a little bit. Do something different, because hidden object games, well, they were never a very popular genre for a reason.
You know what you could do? You know what Linux is severely lacking? First-person shooters. How about you make one of those?
Or, you know, some turn-based strategy or real-time strategy games. We don't have any of those either.
No, you get a first-person shooter, turn-based strategy, hidden object game.
Yes.
Hey, I'd fucking play that.
And on that bombshell, cue the music! Because you could always find us. Well, this time it's a bit different, because we started at, 6:30? Eastern Moon
something
time.
Like that.
We're doing the early bird once a month because the Patreon backers threw us a wet sticky, and we always keep good on what we say. So normally, 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon time. I'm Vin Stone, cleverly disguised at Vin Stone on the Twitters. You write me there, I'm definitely going to write you back. Plus Vin Stone on the G+. Probably going to write you back there, but you got to realize, Brad, when I open my G+, in the morning, it's like 500 fucking... I'm like, I might miss you over there. Jay, baby.
I'm Jordan Swung. You can find me at The Burning Pool on Twitter, or plus Jordan Swung on Google+, where no one talks to me ever.
It's because you have everything set to private still. You never changed it after they did the security thing.
Yeah, you need to make those posts public. I, on the other hand, I have pretty much thrown my life all over the internet. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter, which I don't go there very often, to be perfectly honest. But on Plus Pedro Mateos on Google+, you can actually find most of my shit there. It is the social network that I use the most.
That's brilliant. So, at the end of the day, take that shot, beautiful party people. I guess all we can say is, let's do the time warp.
Because it's the pelvic thrust that really drives you insane.
No. No. Nope. I'm done.
I really wanted to see the pelvic thrust again. I mean, it's amazing what he can do.
I know. Way to be a fucking spoil sport, man. I don't even know why we hire you. So I did some research.